Welcome to the Business Development Podcast, brought to you by the Global Business Development Association, delivering the strategies and tactics to boost your career and corporate growth.
Welcome, everyone. From the Global Business Development Association, this is the podcast called What is Business Development? And today we're actually going to take it one step further and we're going to say, how do you get into business development? And then once you're in business development, what do you do? So before we start with our guest today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Nate Simpson's background. Nate is a longtime business development professional with a passion for connecting with people, who possess a rare combination of technical experience, and he has an entrepreneurial approach to business growth. His combined background in both the delivery of engineering sector services and business development spans more than 25 years. After rising to senior technical leadership roles in the delivery of building and fire codes consulting services, Nate embarked on the next phase in his career, focusing on business development. Since 2012, Nate served in progressive business development leadership roles, culminating as a director of business development for a leading Canadian fire protection engineering firm. Founding Nate Simpson Business Development in 2022, this collective experience enables Nate to offer insightful guidance when collaborating with clients on business development and marketing strategies. Nate provides a process-based, action-oriented approach to help clients uncover and engage growth opportunities, augment existing competencies, and address opportunities for improvement. Nate Simpson, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Tony. Glad to be here.
So Nate, it's interesting reading your background and looking at how you entered into the business development profession. I think it's a common pathway for a lot of BD people, and that may come as a surprise to some of the listeners. And so, Nate, I would like to hear a little bit more about your story. You started in really operational roles, technical roles, and then you worked your way into business development. Kind of walk us through your journey where you started in that technical role, and then you had that light bulb moment of, what made you say, hey, I want to be a business developer?
Absolutely. And I'll try and skip stones quickly across the pond for everyone over a 27 odd year span here. But in the first 15 years of my time in the fire protection engineering sector, I really loved the technical work. That's what I got into it, having graduated from a fire protection engineering technology program at a college here in Toronto. And then really finding my footing on the technical side of things, obtaining the certification as a certified engineering technologist through a provincial regulatory body here, and progressing through on the technical side of things to a role of senior associate. So I was principally responsible for building code and fire code consulting and helping architects, property owners, developers, managers navigate those regulations whenever they wanted to design and construct a new building, renovate an existing building, if they had compliance issues with the local authorities, helping them through that process. So another aspect that had always underpinned my career is that I'm always curious. And anybody that takes a look at my LinkedIn profile will see the pathway that I've had through my career in exploring different opportunities within the fire protection engineering sector. And in around 2012, I had the opportunity with LRI, they're a fire protection engineering firm in Toronto here that I'd spent some time with in my career. There was an opportunity as that organization was progressing and growing to a point where they actually needed that business development role to help provide additional resources, additional horsepower for the firm to assist leadership in the winning of work, the cultivating of relationships, and other functions. I had marketing wide mandate in marketing and BD responsibilities. So, and for me, I saw an opportunity there when that position was created that really interested me. I wanted to know and be a part of the winning of the work, and that I had been doing for so long, and which I loved. But I was really curious about, you know, this the winning of the work, and seeing all of what was out there in that way. Um, how do proposals get put together? How do you manage relationships? And that's really another common thread throughout is just the opportunity to, foster that customer relationship in a different way. Instead of providing technical services, providing, the sort of the relationship, the client relationship that helps grow wallet share, grow engagement with those key clients, those new prospects, and be engaged that way. And so I really wanted to leverage my experience from a technical perspective, from customer relationship perspective, and engage in a different way in business development. So I was also excited by the opportunity of variety. So when it came to my decision in March of 2022 to leave LRI, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. There was, obviously throw a pandemic in there, for good measure to throw a bit of chaos in there in people's careers. But but it took me about a couple months to really feel out what was true for me again. Um, and knowing that I wanted something different for this next phase in my career. And what settled out is that, yeah, I love BD. I love helping small and medium-sized engineering and other professional design firms grow in whatever ways are meaningful for them, whether it's geographic growth, opening new offices, new services, growing and deepening the relationship between their key clients and their staff, um, and uh, and 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 again, that aspect of variety where could this be a thing where I could be this type of resource, this type of fractional or contract based resource to help firms grow? So, doing all that good market research and building that intelligence, getting that business intelligence, doing the market research, qualifying the market opportunity, I said, yes, let's do this. So I did something very different than I had done ever before in my career, where I'd always moved to another engagement with ink dried on a contract in hand. I went, no, this is the time to start my own business. So here we are 2.5 years later, and I'll tie it off there and turn the mic back over to you to see if you have any questions on that, on what I've just laid out there.
Sure. Well, thank you. And, I really like hearing about your journey, and I think it will resonate with a lot of the listeners. Those who have been in the business development profession for some time will probably look at your journey and go, "Yeah, that was my journey. I started in operations, that's actually my situation. I started in
Mhm.
operations. I saw my first business developer in the wild, I think, in 2000 or 2001, and I thought, wow, that looks interesting. I'd like to do that. And then it took me 10 years to break into business development. And so your journey, I think, is very, because on LinkedIn, you see so much about business development reps and these junior folks that come straight out of college or, some pre-undergraduate, and they're starting in business development, which is great. And usually it's some sort of SaaS company that they work for as a software as a service company, and they're doing high volume calls or they're doing high volume DMs and engagement. And you hear a lot of that, and it's great. It's a great way to enter the profession without any kind of technical expertise. And you learn a lot about business development tactics by pursuing that pathway. But I would argue that that is not the predominant way that most people enter the profession. I think most people, just like you and me, we enter the profession as a technical practitioner. We develop a discipline in our vertical, a competency in the technology, and then we move up into business development. And then, just like you did in 2022, is you form your own business development consulting practice. That's exactly what I did. So I think that pathway is very similar for a lot of folks, as opposed to what people probably see a lot on LinkedIn as BDR that moves up to AE, the account executive, and then they move up into a sales vertical, or they move up through the BD ranks as director of BD and whatnot. So I think it's great for people to hear that have been around for a while. Hey, I'm not alone here. I think it's also great for people who want to get into BD. They are technical practitioners, maybe project managers, whatnot. They want to break in. There's a pathway, and you're not alone. A lot of people have done that. And I think also for those junior folks that may be in college right now wondering, well, how do I get into BD? Okay, well, you don't have to be a BDR. You can start in operations, and you can learn. And I would argue it probably makes you a stronger business developer when you get there 3 to 5 years later down the road after you've been in ops, because you know your vertical. You have network of folks in the industry, and you could really approach the industry from a strong value proposition of, hey, look, I know this stuff. Okay, I know it works. I know where the problems are. I can speak from a position of authority. Now, it's unique to some industries, some verticals. Software as a service, yes, you can start very early, right out of college, or right with your business development professional certification, and that's primarily why I helped create the business development professional certification, wrote the business development body of knowledge, is so that folks can get into business development. Because I think probably when you started, just like when I started, there weren't a lot of books, there weren't a lot of organizations that you could join and learn about business development, establish some sort of competency to punch that ticket and go, I want to be a business developer now. You kind of had to work your way into it. So great journey. I loved hearing that story, Nate. So let's talk a little bit about your consulting practice. What are some of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis that may be a little bit different than what you did as a independent contributor and when you're a director of BD for the prior company that you worked with? How was that journey kind of making that transition, and what do you do now for clients? I love the fact that it all came from a position of giving. I loved what you said, which is I wanted to continue giving back to my customers and my community.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't define business developers better than anything else I've heard in a long time, that's it right there. It actually, the textbook definition of BD is customer and community advocacy that creates corporate growth. This is what we do. This is our thing. So tell us a little bit more, Nate, about about your business.
Yes. Well, what I focus on principally is the structures, processes, and habits within an organization, within my client's organization, related to business development. And that is, I understand, very broad, very broad approach there, and it will mean different things for different organizations. Sometimes the need is organization wide, where there is additional human resource needed to advance their business development strategy, say for a client of mine that might be a seller doer led firm, one or two principals of the firm that are tasked and responsible for so much else, doing the work, managing the team, managing growth in different ways, HR, admin, IT. So they're wearing so many hats. So I may be able to provide a resource to specifically and narrowly focus on BD and help free up time of those principals to then focus so that they can focus on higher value tasks, say mentoring their team or actually getting out in front of clients as well, freeing up time for that, whether it be project related or that customer nurture type of activity that is sometimes a challenge when you're wearing so many hats. So in other ways, the need may be very focused and narrow, where there's a particular process, say a go no go process, very simply a go no go process within an organization. They may be having a pain points as far as why are our win rates dropping, or why do we not get engagement with this one particular client prospect that's always asking us for proposals, but always sort of choosing somebody else. So there could be other particular pain points. It might be a certain workflow in terms of how they even nurture their clients. They might have an understanding because of the practices that they've just, organically instituted or came to through the growth of their firm, but it's not written down. It's not something that anybody has really looked at in depth to see where there's opportunities that may be missed. If it's a workflow that pertains to how to address inbound calls from a prospect, and maybe that particular instance uh, doesn't work out for an opportunity for the particular firm, what happens then? Do they just sort of wash their hands of it, say thank you for calling us and sorry we couldn't help you? Or does that contact then fall into a nurture cycle, even though it didn't work out that particular time? You have a process, a program for nurturing that prospect through to a point where maybe there is an engagement down the road, or maybe that prospect is so impressed with how you've kept in touch and provided that sort of human connection and contact throughout that nurture cycle, that they refer you contacts or other opportunities. They could be a referral source for you.
Yeah, I tell you, Nate, this is great. I love what you're saying because I always tell people stop doing random acts of business development. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Business development it's a science. It's a process. You implement the process. And when folks start off their companies, they're chief cook, bottle washer, and chief business developer. They're writing proposals, but they're also the technical practitioner, and they get to a point in their growth trajectory where the wheels start falling off the bus. They can't handle everything, and they need folks like you. I always argue, look, that transition when you're going from your startup phase and you're starting to ramp into growth phase is a perfect time for folks like you, Nate, to come in who know the processes, implement those processes. Because some people go right to full growth and they hire a bunch of business developers, probably junior business developers, and then they wonder why are we not getting any kind of traction here? Why is this not working? Well, because you never built the processes. So
Mhm.
you're just throwing people at a problem and they're running in so many random different directions. You're not going to achieve the goals that you want to. So you have to bring in full cycle business developers like you that know how to go from awareness phase all the way to, activation, conversion, execution on success phase, and then growth, retaining them and turning them
Yeah.
into your biggest advocates. Okay. That's why you need experts like you, Nate, that understand the full cycle and then document those, build that discipline. Then once you have everything figured out, then you add your business developers. So I know we have about 12 minutes left in the show,
Yeah.
Nate, and everybody loves this final part because this is the point where we love to talk about your top tactics.
Yeah.
So top 3 tactics as a business developer. What are your go-tos? Let's start with number 1.
Well, there's so many options in this type of topic. So, in consideration, and when I was preparing for today, it really came down to these top three, and so just to lay out the groundwork, just to lay out the key points of what I'll be touching on is audit, act, and be human.
I like
So,
those. I like those. Let's jump into it. Let's jump
yeah.
into number 1, audit.
Okay, audit. This is where it starts. You have to know where you are in order to have any sense of where you're going in the future with anything, whether it's life or whether it's running a business. And this might be, when people hear the word audit, it may set them on a certain sort of in a certain mindset, like they're getting audited by the IRS or CRA or something like that. No, but it's a quick word to just for the assessment and evaluation of a particular item in your business development part of your organization. that you're looking to address, and that could be from a pain point that you're just like I referenced earlier. Maybe your win rates are plummeting. Got to find out why. So it might be something that you're auditing on a reactive basis, or you could be conducting that initial audit, say for something proactive. Could be, we have an idea of wanting to grow into a new service area or into a new vertical. And
Yeah, so
you're auditing.
you're auditing kind of their strategy, right? You're
Yeah,
coming in looking at their strategy. You're probably auditing their processes. Like what are your baseline processes? How do you got to do, or do you even have a process? You
exactly.
know, they may
Like,
not.
tell me what you do. How have you decided that your target is, well, we're going to have 12% growth? Okay, that's great. Tell me how you got there.
Yeah, and show me
And
the math,
yeah,
right?
show me the math, and show me that goal has alignment. When you look up and down that the line of that goal, that it has alignment throughout the organization. Um, and that can tie in many different other aspects that like HR and IT infrastructures and so on. You might have a great growth goal, but if your staffing complement isn't up to matching that,
Hmm.
if you haven't considered that, then you might have some challenges getting there.
Yeah, so you're auditing the strategy, the processes in the team, the
Yeah,
personnel. You're yeah,
yeah,
okay, gotcha.
yeah. So that, and whether it's me or whether it's something that they're doing internally, for me, the first step is always do the audit. Uh,
Okay, great.
uh,
So that's okay. So audit
yeah,
is number one. I love that. You're kind of establishing the baseline environment, and so let's jump into number two.
act. So work the plan through the audit and through the development of your strategies to deal with either that specific concern or that organization-wide initiative, like a new business development strategy for a new office or service. Work the plan and and take that in as small steps as possible. And I have this phrase of everyday BD, so that if you just are very deliberate about blocking your time and planning and getting through your small steps every day, then that will help. Um, I don't want to say guarantee, nothing is guaranteed, but that will help your chances of successful outcome.
Yeah,
And
yeah, you have to establish that day to day, to use a military phrase, battle rhythm. You know,
yeah,
what
yeah,
does that day look like for everybody on the BD team? And
yeah,
when I say BD team, that's not just the business developers. That's what is the C-suite doing every day? What are the frontline people doing every day? Because I think a lot of
absolutely,
people, the leaders, they forget their frontline has a direct impact on their business growth, identifying new opportunities, because they're out there every day talking to those customers and they're seeing what the customers hate. They're seeing what the customers have problems with. Those are all growth opportunities. If you're not tapping into that, you're missing out on tremendous growth source. So you're saying, okay, you have to act, and everybody has a role, and so you're also probably looking at measuring that, right? Like, okay,
yep,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
How do you do that? How do you do?
If you're not measuring and you're not tracking, you're not setting yourself up for success. And so,
Okay.
absolutely, and the measurements and all of those KPIs and
Hmm.
ROIs and so on, will form part of your audit and all within the audit step. But absolutely, you need to track it. You need to measure it, and as well, you touched on a really key point there that I loved, in that it involves everyone in the organization, because everybody in the organization has a role to play in BD. It's not, it can be assumed that it's only those things that the senior staff do or the executives do. Um, but everybody has a role to play, and whether it's say a more junior staff member, that hears something out in the field that sounds interesting, like maybe a new opportunity, and they know because their organization has set up a BD structure such that even if that person might be at a point in their career where they might not be comfortable engaging in that discussion right then and there, but at least they know they have a reporting structure to go back to and say, hey, I heard this in the field. What does this mean? Is this a potential opportunity for us? And then be able to have a process in place where that opportunity gets engaged with by somebody that is part of the senior team. Again,
Wow,
as one
yeah.
example of many potential.
Yeah, that is fantastic, Nate, because that's a driving reason why we created the business growth practitioner certification for folks that are on the front line, for everybody else that's in the company, so that they can just take a quick 30-minute online course that teaches them how to recognize a customer's pain points, provide excellent customer experience, but then knowing who to contact, right?
Mhm.
Look, if the customer is experiencing a pain point, this is how you respond, and this is who you tell. Okay,
Yeah,
you have to let the business developer know because this could be a growth opportunity for the company, either with that customer or across the entire industry. So it's so refreshing to hear that this is a key component of what you're doing. You're doing the act. The act is establish those processes, document them, establish the measurements, and actually measure them with your KPIs. And then on top of that, you're looking at the personnel. And I bet you too, Nate, you're probably also looking at some of those personnel who are future Nate Simpsons,
yep,
right? Who are folks that are out there, guys and gals that are out there, they're helping customers and they're like, Nate, I'd like to be a business developer someday. Great. We'll bring, just promote them into a business development role as opposed to hiring from the outside, right?
absolutely. And it provides a potential different career opportunity within the same organization
Mm-hmm.
that they've perhaps spent a number of years at and perhaps enjoy as well. That opportunity to expand their responsibilities and their role within the organization in that way. And so as well, it helps potentially organizations with staff retention. If somebody on the technical side, understands that, oh, this could be a potential pathway for me in my career here.
Yeah, that's great. I know we have about 3 minutes left
Yep.
on the clock, so I'd love to jump into tactic number 3.
Yep, be human. I will do this very, very quickly, I promise. With all the pressures of AI, the economy, affordability, and so on, and all of the all of the programs like AI and large language models, CRM systems, and whatever other technology, it those combine to really um, uh, not obfuscate, uh, but there's a veneer there that you have to break through in order to really stand out from your competition. And that breakthrough is being human in our interactions, looking for those moments where we can actually be face to face with people. Um, where we have those conversations outside of delivering, work for that client, making sure that we're in touch with them at other times so they're hearing from us and not just hearing from us in ways that another newsletter gets dropped into their inbox, which is very useful, but that can't be the only type of engagement. So it's really about um, making sure that as part of your holistic business development strategy for your organization, that you are deliberately working in those points and interactions uh, where possible, that you're getting face to face with your clients in person if possible. I know my context is that I deal with small privately run firms in the engineering sector in the Toronto GT area. This won't necessarily be achievable for everybody doing business
Right.
development
Right.
when so much of it is remote. But in your own ways, find those opportunities to be human with your clients and prospects.
Yeah, I like that. It's so tempting for people to gravitate towards the technology tools and to try and achieve scale and think that's the easy button. But you have to learn how to use technology to enable the human to human connection. That's what other humans want. Robots do not build trust with humans. And if you want to do any kind of a deal, you need to have trust, and that's built human to human. So, Nate, tactic number 3 really kind of summarizes the entire BD profession, and so I really like that. So let me just kind of summarize the top 3 tactics. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the first one is audit. Audit. Okay, what are your baseline processes? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis? What's your strategy? What does your team look like? Then you move right into tactic number 2, which is act. Okay, implement that plan, implement those processes, measure the performance, and then identify areas where you need to improve. And then the final tactic is human to human engagement. This is the brand activation phase that humans crave. We need that trust before we are going to make a deal with anybody and buy anything from anyone. So if you are in the Toronto, Canada area and you are in architecture, engineering, construction, maybe you're a business owner, you did a great job growing your business, but the wheels are starting to fall off the bus and you're wondering, okay, how am I going to keep growing and how am I going to scale my business growth? Folks, call Nate Simpson. If you're not in Toronto, give him a call anyway. He's a wonderful guy. And Nate, thank you so much. Loved hearing your journey. It was a little cathartic to hear that somebody had the same journey that I did and faced the same kind of struggles along the way. But you've been a huge success, and thank you for everything that you do in contributing to the profession and doing what we do as business developers, which is, like you said, we're here to help our customers. That's what we do. BD is a team sport. We help our customers, they help us, and we help each other grow as business developers. And you did that today, Nate. So thank you so much for everything you do, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much again, Tony, for the opportunity. I love it. I love how you wrapped everything up right there. And so I look forward to being in touch with you again down the road. And yes, absolutely, for anybody that wants to reach out, Nate at natesimpson.ca.
All right. And on LinkedIn as well. You have a great profile there, very accessible, easy to find. So folks, reach out to Nate. If you're a business owner or you're just another business developer and you want to chat with somebody who knows a lot about BD, Nate is your man. Thank you, Nate.
Thank you, Tony. Take care.
You too.
Thank you for listening to the Business Development Podcast. Join our free community of corporate partners and business development professionals advancing the art, science, and ethics of the business development profession at gbdassociation.org.